Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bowo. Glad you're in the house with me today. We're going to be in Genesis chapter 48, kind of wrapping up the narrative of Joseph now. And really, it's going to be really a wrapping up of the narrative of Jacob. So we're going to see that today. But anyway, it's great to be with you. You could always check out the archives at my YouTube channel, Bo Willette. We are live there too, but you can always go back and listen to those YouTube clips and share them with people who maybe are wanting to learn the Bible, never have gone through the Bible, just in a kind of chapter by chapter format, and just kind of going through it and picking it apart and pulling out some of the gems that are in these chapters. And as always, it's wonderful to have the comment corner and to see you all here. I asked a question, just a kind of a random question, and that was, when you get up, how do you like it? Do you guys like it warm or do you guys like it cold? And it's neat to see some of the answers. Bob says a bit warmer would be nice. I like that, which is great. Some people like, let's see, Tina likes it cold. She likes it around, it sounds like, and she's got a little emoji there, a little cold emoji kind of snowflake thing. So she must like it around 45, eh? Oh yeah, she's like those in Maine, eh? Over there, yeah, like it cold there. I lived in Bethel when I was a little guy, Bethel, Maine, and I've always enjoyed my relatives' accents over there. Paula says warmer the better. And there's a love emoji, so she likes it warmer. Yeah, it's amazing how I think Marcia likes it cold too. I think Marcia said she liked it cool. Yeah, she likes it cool. So it's not cold, but it's cool. So she likes it a little on the cool side. Not that Maine, not like those people in Maine, but it's great. Anyway, let's get into it. It says, one day not long after this, word came to Joseph, your father is failing rapidly. Now, this is after 17 years of being in Egypt. So remember that. By the time he moved to Egypt, Jacob, that is, he stayed alive for another 17 years. Remember, Jacob was kind of sharing with Pharaoh, like, hey, I haven't really lived that long, not compared to my ancestors. They lived a long time, but I'm not living that long. And so it's kind of interesting for us. That would seem like a long time for sure. In his he's going well into his hundreds, and he's definitely up there. So it says when Joseph arrived, or it says Joseph went to visit his father, and he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Now they're in order there, Manasseh and Ephraim, by age. So that's the way they're put in order in that first verse. And this is good because it's going to set up if you will, this short narrative. And we're going to see how this, again, gets kind of tweaked. And aren't you surprised? Isn't everything in Jacob's life just a bit interesting? And isn't it probably interesting in your life too? Isn't your life just a bit interesting? There's the ideal. There's the thing that we look at that go, hey, man, that would be ideal, and but then there's the real, right? And we all have a real. Like, there's the real us, the quirky us. Everything's not so cut and dry. Just the idiosyncrasies that we all have. And then there's the Christian life that, we kind of have in our mind that we think, we should be walking in, and in the patterns. And sometimes they can be quite different things. And, even though Jacob knew the Lord, the true and living God, Yahweh, Jacob's life was an interesting one. And there was always a bit of quirkiness with this guy. Never a dull moment is right, Paula. And isn't that cool? It kind of makes us all interesting people, don't you think? that we all have an interesting part of us and different weird things that we tend to enjoy and other things we don't like to enjoy, and that kind of thing. So it's just interesting. Hey, Bob, we will be praying for that dermatology appointment at the VA. So I spent a lot of time there with my old man. So very familiar with the VA, but we'll be lifting you up in prayer, brother. So it says, now Joseph arrived, Jacob was told, your son Joseph has come to see you. So Jacob gathered his strength and sat up in his bed. Now I find this really cool on another level, I guess I could say. And that is, I think it's really important that when someone is getting ready to pass, it's important that people see them. And you take your family to go see them. And this is what happens usually in the hospitals when someone is in a bed and they are going to be passing away soon. People will gather, and there's something beautiful to that. I've been in many bedsides where there's a lot of wonderful prayer and worship, and just a real comforting time for the person who's there, who really can't maybe say much, but that they're surrounded by those that love them and really respect them and respect the life they lived, the time, the investment that was in them. And so there's something special to be said about this. And so he brings his two boys. Now, the reason why I said that is because we do live in a culture that really steers clear of death, and we really don't know how to deal with it very well. Hence, probably the reason for the last 2 years, really, is because we just don't do death really well. Death is scary on multiple levels for many of us human beings. And just the thought of dying leads us into a panic, kind of a psychosis panic in life. And those are things that, what societies do is we tend to put people that are dying maybe off to the side so that we don't see them. And I really like this old school way of going about it, that people were brought to the bedside. And I'm still grateful that still happens today as well. Because death is a part of what we're in, and we're all going to go through it, and we can't avoid it. And so we need to meet it face to face. And I'd like to meet it with the one who conquered death. That's how I'd want to do it, man. If I'm going to go into a boxing ring, man, I want to go into a boxing ring trained, really trained to be able to do the right thing. And so if I'm going to face death, man, I want to be trained. And Jesus is the great trainer for the boxing match, that's for sure. So Jacob said to Joseph, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz. Isn't that cool? God Almighty. That term that's used again in the book of Genesis. The God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. And he said to me, I will make you fruitful and multiply your descendants. I will make you a multitude of nations, and I will give this land of Canaan to your descendants after you have an everlasting possession. So Jacob reiterates the promise of Yahweh to Joseph. This is what he says to Joseph. In a sense, this is passing on that kind of patriarchal kind of blessing that went from Abraham, Isaac, and now to Jacob. And now it kind of moves on over to Joseph. And this is interesting because Joseph is not the firstborn, right? Reuben is the firstborn of Jacob. But we're going to see that Reuben is not going to get the firstborn blessing from Jacob. It's going to move away from him. And Joseph here really takes a prominent position in his family. Now, this is what was prophesied to Joseph, and Joseph revealed those prophecies to his parents and to his brothers. And we obviously know the story of what happened there. But here, this reiteration of blessing. And I love this, the idea of taking your kids and blessing them, the idea of reiterating the things that God's done in your life to your family, sharing with your family the testimony of God's faithfulness in your life. That certainly glorifies God. It shows his worth and his value in our life and his importance, and is what we do in our life. If it's showing the value of God to our family members, then that is the best thing we could ever do, is show them just how valuable God is. And Craig says, when my nan was dying, I kept reassuring, speaking to her about God, waiting for her. Yeah, that's cool, man. I love that, Craig. I love that idea, man. It's just that, that it's during that time, right? That special time of someone passing away, that there's this these moments to be able to be shared and to really glorify God. And so Jacob does this. And now I am claiming as my own sons these two boys of yours. Now notice the order. Now I am claiming you as my sons, these two boys of yours. So Jacob says, I'm adopting these sons of yours. There's no if, and, or buts about this. He's like, I'm dying, but I am, in a sense, putting them into my blessing. Now, notice the order, Ephraim and Manasseh. So interesting. Wow, Bob, 40 around your mom when she was passing away. Man, that is awesome. Hey, Casey, read Psalm 116 and see if that's a good one for you. I think Psalm 23 and Psalm 16 are some of the really fun psalms to sing around someone who's passing away. Now, it says Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born here in the land of Egypt before I arrived, they will be my sons, Jacob says, just as Reuben and Simeon are. But any children born to you in the future will be your own, for they will inherit land with the territories of their brothers, Ephraim and Manasseh. So this is the idea here. Remember I said that Jacob was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel? And you guys go, yeah, okay, I remember that. That's right, he had a lot of kids. Well, Ephraim and Manasseh are going to be a part of that 12-tribe land allotment. So there's going to be a land allotment that is given to the children in Canaan, in the place of what we know today as Israel. Well, Ephraim and Manasseh are going to have their own land allotments. So you could see it, but any children born to you in the future will be your own, and they will inherit land with the territories of their brothers, Ephraim and Manasseh. So he says, I'm adopting these two kids, Ephraim and Manasseh, and they're going to be a part of the 12 tribes. I mean, that's like the bow kind of, what is it? The bow interpretation, if you will. Is they're going to be a part of the 12 tribes. And we'll see how that kind of pans out later on. But it's true. That's how it's going to happen. It says, long ago I was returning from Padam Aram. Rachel died in the land of Canaan. We were still on the way some distance from Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. So with great sorrow I buried her besides the road to Ephrath. Isn't that cool? Rachel was died close to Bethlehem. Then Jacob looked over at the two boys. Are these your two sons? And he asked, yes, Joseph told him, these are the sons God has given me here in Egypt. And Jacob said, bring them closer so I can bless them. Now Jacob was half blind because of his age and could really hardly see. So Joseph brought the boys close to him, and Jacob kissed and embraced them. Isn't that cool? Beautiful kissing and a wonderful embrace. And says, then Jacob said to Joseph, I never thought I would see your face again, and now God has let me see your children too. Don't you love it when God just exceeds your expectations? Where you might have an expectation, but then something happens even greater, and you go, whoa, man, what a trip. That is amazing. And, God just keeps doing greater things that you never thought he would do, or it wasn't even on the radar. And yet it happens. And I love that. We have a God of great expectation. We just never know what God's going to do, but he always exceeds what we think. Now, put in your mind of what you think heaven's going to be like. Put in your mind what it's going to be like when you think, seeing Jesus and being able to meet him face to face. Think of all that. Well, I got to tell you, it's going to exceed that. It's going to exceed that 100-fold. Why do I say that? Because the Bible tells us that, we can't even imagine the thoughts that God, the blessings that God has for us. Mind is not even conceived it, ear is not heard, nor is entered into the hearts of humans the things that God has prepared for us who love him. We are going to be absolutely mind boggled. It will be unreal. And I don't know if you've ever had a moment like that where you're just absolutely blown away. So many neat things happen in life, so many, different events that you go to, and they're glorious in a sense that they're glorious in a, maybe even in a worldly way, but they're amazing to see, and you kind of go, wow, that was amazing. And, it kind of blew you away, and you really, it's hard to take in. Well, it's going to be hard to take in the Creator and just be there. So here Jacob reiterates just how blown away he is, that he has been able to now see Joseph and his children. So Joseph moved the boys and who were at their grandfather's knees, and he bowed his face to the ground. So Joseph pays homage to his dad, and to his dad's dad, and his dad's dad. Then he positioned the boys in front of Jacob. With his right hand he directed to Ephraim towards Jacob's left hand, and with his left hand he put on Manasseh at Jacob's right hand. But Jacob crossed his arms as he reached out to lay his hand on the boys' heads. He put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, though he was the younger boy, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, though he was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph and said, so he does this cross thing, right? Jacob goes like this, right? The boys are lined up where you're supposed to have, here Manasseh on the right, Ephraim on the left kind of thing, the right hand of blessing. But instead it goes this way, and Ephraim is now getting the hand of blessing. And so that's what it says. He put his right hand on the head of Ephraim. So we know the right hand was the hand of blessing. And it says, may the God before whom our grandfather Abraham and my father Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd. Isn't that cool? I think that's first mention of shepherd as relating to God in the Bible. So I just told Casey to maybe look at Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. Well, here I think is the first mention. You could search it out yourself to see, but this says the God who has been my shepherd. Isn't that cool? Wow. So Jacob says, the Lord's my shepherd all my life to this very day. The angel who has redeemed me from all harm. Very interesting. Who is that angel? The angel, the redeeming angel. Very interesting. Yeah, Bethlehem. I noticed that too, Bob. Bethlehem also first mentioned. Yeah, it might be the first time that literally the word Bethlehem is used. Where the surrounding areas definitely are talked about already. But that kind of struck me too. That might be the first place of Bethlehem being mentioned as well. So the angel who has redeemed me from all harm, may he bless these boys. May they preserve my name and the names of Abraham and Isaac, and may their descendants multiply greatly through the earth. So there's something very important about progeny. And this is something that I think a lot of times people today don't really talk about much, and they don't even seem like they care much about progeny. But this definitely was something that was part of the biblical narrative from the very early beginnings, right? And may their descendants multiply greatly. That is a reiteration of that idea of be fruitful and multiply throughout the whole earth. Something that was told to Adam and Eve before the fall of human beings. So before the divorce, the great divorce, right? The banishment from the garden, there is they were told to be fruitful and multiply. There's a lot of learning that we can do in this idea of being fruitful and multiply. And there seems to be an interesting consequence when we reject this command. And I won't get into that right now, but there's a lot to be said about this idea of being fruitful and multiply. And multiply greatly throughout the earth. And so may God preserve the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and may they multiply greatly. So Joseph was upset when he saw that his father placed his right hand on Ephraim's head. So Joseph lifted it to move from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. No, my father, he said, this is the firstborn. This is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. So Joseph's trying to correct Jacob. But his father refused. I know, my son, I know, he replied. Manasseh will also become a great people, but his younger brother will become even greater, and his descendants will become a multitude of nations. So Jacob blessed the boys that day with his blessing. The people of Israel will use your names when they give a blessing. They will say, may God make you as prosperous as Ephraim and Manasseh. In this way, Jacob put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. And we'll see later on in the narrative throughout the Bible that Ephraim does become a very dominant tribe. So much so that the 10 northern tribes of Israel are under the umbrella of Ephraim. So when people say Ephraim, sometimes they're talking about just the one tribe of Ephraim, or sometimes they might be referring to all 10 northern tribes of Israel. So very, very interesting. You kind of got to figure that out by the context. So let's see. Kurt Matties says, talk about humble. God himself is humbled. You just mentioned the first mention of God being a shepherd, and shepherds were looked down upon. Oh, good point, Kurt. So much so, right? Egypt said that the Pharaoh of Egypt said, hey, those shepherds, man, they can be in Goshen, but they were despised, right? And so God is, the title of God in this section is one of a humbling title. Very good point, Kurt. Oh, man. Yeah. And the two southern tribes, Benjamin and Judah. That's right. Those were the two southern tribes of Israel. Bob. That was to Bob. So then Jacob said to Joseph, look, I am about to die, but God will be with you and will take you back to Canaan. Hey, God's going to get you back home. Hey, that's a promise to us too. God's going to get you back home. That land of Canaan is kind of like that picture of heaven, right? Going back to the promised land. Back to the place of milk and honey, right? The land of your ancestors, back to that place where Abraham was called. And, God's going to get you back there. And we'll that's what the narrative of the next books are about, of the Bible. And many books, actually, not just one, but many of the following books after this are going to be about this. And beyond what I have given your brothers, I am giving you an extra portion of the land. And that I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow. So Jacob says, hey, man, just as I was a warrior in my day, And, there's some land that was taken, and I'm going to be giving you that extra portion of the land. And, just as I've given your brothers, they're going to have a portion. So you're going to have a portion as well. And like I said, Manasseh and Ephraim do get a good piece of property, and they will become part of the 12 tribes. So Joseph does not get a piece of property. Levi does not get a piece of property. Instead, they are replaced by Manasseh and Ephraim. So that might help you to understand the 12 tribes, right? So even though Jacob had sons, Joseph and Levi, we're going to see that Joseph is represented by his 2 sons, and Levi is going to be set apart for something pretty special. So, hey, what a great chapter. And as always, you guys are on the ball in the comment corner praying for one another. Hey, we got some prayer requests, so make sure you guys lift up each other this morning as we get the day going, okay? You guys have a good one, and take care. Lord willing, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.